What's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning into the Aymin audio experience. I'm your host, Jonathan, and I am here with a very special guest. We're here today with Jeff Fenster. He's the founder and CEO of Everbowl. Jeff, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Super excited to be on your podcast and really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if anything, I appreciate the opportunity. I reached out to you. You were super cool. You know, we had a little bit of a conversation over email, and really special to be able to come down here. We have YouTube rolling, so this is the first time that that's happening, actually. We
that's cool.
Kind of tried and failed a couple times on that, but I'm really pumped to get into your story. For anyone who doesn't know what Everbowl is, or even if they have tried Everbowl a couple of times, give us the skinny. What are you? Who are you? And then we can dig a little bit more into kind of who is Jeff Fenster.
Absolutely, yeah. Everbowl was really designed to solve and answer the reason why we are not eating healthy. Obviously, research and science is showing that a lot of what is plaguing Americans today, from heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancer, feeling icky and not being your best self, all comes down to how we don't move our bodies and are not eating real stuff. And so really trying to take a look at it from a higher level and say, okay, why are we making those choices and why are we not? If we know if the information is there, why are we in society not doing that? And so to be able to match my two biggest passions besides my family, which is healthy living and industry, I saw a real good opportunity for my next business to be solving that problem. And so you can see it on the wall here, if for those on YouTube at least, and on the front of all of our employees' t-shirts and on the back of my hat is a word unevolve, and it's a word we created and trademarked and defined, and we defined it to move and eat the way we were meant to, essentially to live actively and eat stuff that's been around forever. Everbowl. So Everbowl is meant to solve the eating side of why we're not being healthy, and the movement side is a secondary piece. And so we really looked at it abstractly and said, okay, if we can answer the excuses we make every day why we choose bad and unhealthy food, I can really grow a big business and also solve a huge problem in America. And so looking at them, we came up with the 4 excuses we all make when we choose something fast and fried or not really healthy. And it was either it costs too much to eat healthy, it doesn't taste good, it doesn't fill you up, or you can't get it. But if we could find a way to serve you something that is affordable, delicious, filling, and accessible, you would choose it over something unhealthy every time. And Everbowl Craft Superfood was meant and started to solve that exact problem.
I love that. And I'm so glad you brought up those 4 excuses. That was one of the things that I was doing a little bit of research into what Everbowl was as far as a company and kind of what you stand for. Those were something that just popped out at me right away and something that you continuously talk about. And I love that because it gives kind of this guiding light for your team and solving those 4 problems. You're totally right. I, in the past 6 months specifically, I have felt such a huge difference if I am eating correctly, if I'm going to the gym, or, sometimes owning a business. You get busy, and sometimes it's easy to sit in front of the computer or just go to meetings all day, grab whatever's quick, but you've created this incredible quick solution that does solve some of those excuses. So that's incredible. How, take us back, I want to kind of get this intro story to how Everbowl started. Who are you out of college? When did Everbowl start? And then I want to talk a little bit about Everbowl, but, kind of give us your backstory as far as where you came up with the idea, what was your history like pre-Everbowl?
Sure, yeah. So I actually went to law school to be a sports agent after college. I graduated undergrad at 21,
Wow.
year early, and
yeah.
was like, hey, I'm going to go to law school or join the Marines. So I actually enlisted in the Marine Corps.
Nice a big fork in the road there.
Yeah, they're very similar, right? No, but I enlisted in the Marine Corps at 21 and then also applied to law school. And because I graduated early from undergrad, I really didn't know what I was going to do with myself. So it was a big decision of, okay, I'm either going to go to law school if I get in, and if I don't, I was going to join the Marines, and I was going to go to law school to be a sports agent. So I did. I got accepted to law school, went to law school.
This was post-college.
Post-college. I went to University of Arizona for undergrad.
Nice, excellent.
And Thomas Jefferson
Tempe, okay.
School of Law for law school.
Excellent. Here in San Diego.
Yes,
okay.
Here
Excellent.
in San Diego. And so while I was in law school, I changed my mind on being a sports agent. I really decided that wasn't the field for me, that was going to be something that I didn't want to pursue long term. I also had a fiance and a little baby when I graduated, so I had to make some money. So I got a job out of law school at ADP, the payroll company.
Yeah.
Was there actually just over 6 months. Was fortunate to be the #1 sales rep in the country, made a bunch of money, built a big ego, thought I was, the king shit or whatever you want to say. And as a result of that, I had a built-in bonus that was supposed to happen. And so I went to my boss and said, hey, I'd like my bonus. I hit my metrics. My boss said, sure, no problem. You can have it in July. This was in January. I had to wait till the end of the fiscal year. And frankly, I'm not a patient human being, so I threatened to quit if they didn't give me the bonus. And they kind of said, go ahead and quit. So I did, and I started my own payroll company the very next day out of my mom's kitchen. And that was kind of the launching point of my entrepreneurship career path, if you will. And so me and a buddy, we started a payroll and HR company, built that for about 4 years, and then sold it. And then from there, I've had just a handful of other companies, 14 companies total that I've started in a whole bunch of different industries, and really came up with the idea that you don't need experience to start a company. And I think it's the number one roadblock for too many people. They don't start that company because they don't feel they have the adequate experience, but experience is overrated. You can learn so much so fast if you have a thirst for knowledge. And so I like to come into new industries with fresh eyes and a disruptive approach. And really, if everybody's going left, I'm going to go right. And that allows me to stand out in a crowd, especially where I'm not plagued or locked into doing things the same way that everyone else does it. Totally. Because that's my experience and I've been trained that way. So it really gives us a competitive advantage. It works if you have a thirst for knowledge and you're going to go and educate yourself and surround yourself with experts. It doesn't work so well if you're just going to show up and hope that your magical non-experience is going to work. So I had to learn that, as I navigated different careers. But I sold my digital marketing clients in 2015 and 2016, and was really looking at what I wanted to do next. And Everbowl is my passion. I'm afraid of disease. I've always kind of done research into superfoods. I've always been importing weird exotic foods into my home and tricking my kids to eat healthy and finding new ways to figure out how I can eat better and prevent illness and disease and be my best self from a physical and mental side. And so that was kind of really the inspiration for Everbowl. So when I got to that point in my life where it was like, you know what, I'm at that stage where I can really do what I'm most passionate about, and if it doesn't work, so what? But this is what I really wanted to do, and I really wanted to have an impact really on society, and not just be all about making money or a business, but really show to my kids, like, hey, you should chase your passions, and if you can do something good for society and actually feel good about what you're doing, that's even better. And so in 2016, Everbowl started, and it was really kind of backed into it. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't necessarily know the house. I still never know. I don't know anything about restaurants, and I still don't ever really want to own restaurants.
Maybe the less you know about them, the better, right? But you own one, of course.
Yeah. But really it was more about solving and attacking the problem differently, and utilizing my business skills and what I've done from, being a serial entrepreneur, what I've done to grow and scale businesses, really apply that to this industry and take the restaurant side out and really focus on entertainment. And so our two main rules here at Everbowl are make friends and have fun. Yep. And from that foundation, we're able to figure out the rest. So as long as we continue to make friends with every customer who walks in the door and have a fun environment, we'll learn how to, be better at being restaurateurs, so to speak, and really get back to the humanizing side of food. Because too often, especially today with cell phones and technology, everyone's robotic. When you go to most quick serve fast food restaurants, no one seems to connect, no one seems to care. And so all of a sudden it's really a bad feeling. And I want to humanize food, because when you take a step back and you look at society and human beings, music and food are connected with all events from birth to death and every major milestone in between. So we're a communal type of people. We like to be with each other. So when you can reconnect and really humanize the experience, people are going to love what we're doing, and then from there we'll expand and grow.
And I've heard you say that before, and that's such a true thing that I don't think people realize, and it's kind of that core element that groups us all together and is kind of this common theme. There's so much in what you said there, and I kind of want to dial down a little bit. But for anyone who's listening, especially if you're listening and you're not on YouTube, and if you aren't on YouTube, you need to go check it out on YouTube, because we're going to have some B-roll and everything. But you kind of talked about the why a little bit of, why Everbowl, Unevolve. But what specifically, like when I walk into an Everbowl store, what am I getting? Are you serving me, healthy fig bars? Like what is it specifically?
So we're not locked into anything. Our tagline is made from stuff that's been around forever. So as long as we give you natural food, essentially in a bowl, we can sell it to you, and it's what we're about. But right now we focus primarily on 4 main base superfood ingredients: acai, pitaya, graviola, and acerola. And we load
graviola is that big kind of yellow
green exterior fruit with the white flesh interior.
Is it spiky?
Spiky on the outside.
Okay,
yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Creamy on the inside, like a banana texture.
Huh.
It's got the undertones of like a strawberry and a pineapple. It's really, really delicious.
I'm
if you've never had it.
I'm going to expand my palate today, because I have no idea what this man's talking about right now, other than the
We're
graviola.
getting some samples coming for you, so we're going to be eating while we talk. That's the benefit of doing it here at Everbowl. Awesome. But then we allow you to load it with unlimited superfood toppings of your choice, and that's kind of our unique proposition in the space. You can go get an acai bowl in lots of places. Very few let you have unlimited toppings with the create your own style topping bar. We also add no sugar to any of our superfoods, so none of them are sweetened.
It's incredible.
We use unsweetened liquids as well. Our nut milks and our coconut milks are unsweetened because I don't want to poison you with sugar. If you want extra, we'll give it to you. We can add honey or agave and sweeten it up to your taste, but we're not going to start there. We're going to first give you the healthiest option.
And even there, it's not refined. You're looking
Correct.
at honey instead of refined sugar or something with a lot of added sugars in the ingredients of that product itself. So I love
Correct,
that.
yeah.
Very cool. So getting on a little bit, we jumped over so many things. You mentioned you had kids, correct?
Correct. 2 daughters, yes.
2 daughters. So, and I have kids myself. I know that it's a struggle sometimes to when you're working on something that you're very passionate about, and especially with what you're doing right now. I think you have, how many locations do you have now? I wanted to ask this.
23 now. We're building 6 more as we speak, and our goal is to hopefully get to about 40, 45 by the end of the year.
That is incredible. So basically 29 locations, 23 of them operational. There's a couple right near where I live up in the Riverside area, and you're just exploding everywhere. But with this, I know that it's, you have all these different pulls from you, and we haven't even gotten to some of the other companies that you're running right now, and I'm so jazzed to talk about that. But how do you balance the needs at home? You have a wife, you have kids, you have people who are counting on you, maybe family members that, need some encouragement once in a while, or a call or a pat on the back, or, encouragement. How do you balance being so driven and so passionate and so competitive? Because you strike me as a competitive guy. I mean, you're sitting here with a boot on from a basketball injury. How do you balance those two and still feel like you're bringing your best self to both categories?
I mean, that's a very great question, and one that I struggle with like everybody else. I think it's something that you juggle all the time. I'm always learning, and sometimes I fail in one of those areas, and I have to recenter myself and understand that my kids have their needs. They want their dad around a lot more than I'm possibly there. Or if I spend too much time with them, then I'm not giving the company and my employees what they need. So I think that is one of the hardest aspects of it. So I choose to give up sleep. I
Fair
sleep,
enough.
That's the personal one. I sleep about 3-4 hours a night. And so I wake up at about 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. and really tackle a lot of the administrative things, the emails, the office stuff the best I can. Then I can hopefully wake up, when my daughters wake up, I can spend a little time with them before they go to school, and then I can go hit the day. And when I come home, kind of hopefully get a few hours with them before they go to bed, and then keep working and also give my wife the time. But truly, I wouldn't be able to do any of this if I didn't have my wife at home, who's kind of our rock, and she takes care of the kids and supports everything from the house and really makes sure that all of the familial stuff gets done and in a way that allows me to focus where I need to focus, which is on the business side.
Absolutely. And if you don't have that foundation and everything else is kind of crumbling in the back, it's very hard to be focused at work.
It's impossible.
So that's absolutely incredible, that support system there. Going back to kind of the beginning of Everbowl, and you mentioned after college, you're looking at kind of those 2 career choices, and you went with ADP, you were in that scenario. Going from ADP, at what point do you, in this process up to Everbowl, do you meet your wife?
I met my wife actually when I was at ADP, when I was still in law school.
Nice. Okay.
I met my wife when I was still in law school, and I actually was doing really well at ADP. I bought a house. We were doing great because I had this great job and I was making a boatload of money. And then I told her I threatened to quit, and they called my bluff. So
That's a fun conversation to
Oh,
have.
absolutely. She was my fiance at the time, and we had a little girl.
Pressure's
and
on.
I said, hey, how about we sell our house? We move in with my mom and dad, and I start my own company.
What every girl wants to hear, right?
Absolutely.
Moving with the in-laws.
Of course, especially when they're, we're engaged, and we had just been splurging because I was making a ton of cash
Absolutely.
as his top sales rep. So it was like, yeah, we're not going to make any money, and we're going to lose this house and all of this. And
Hey, babe, new plan.
Yeah.
New plan for life. I like
But she
that.
was supportive, and she said, absolutely, let's
That's
do
incredible.
it. And so because of that, that was also the moment I knew she was going to be my wife forever. Like, I realized that she really was my soulmate, my partner, because she was totally supportive of that dream and understood that I needed to go do it. And she had the belief and confidence that I was going to be able to do it. So it was awesome, at that moment. But no, we met when I was in school, and that was
at Thomas Jefferson.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
excellent. So you're here then. You are starting Everbowl. You said that she had the belief. I know, I think you're very much blowing up in a lot of ways. We talked about some of the metrics of the store openings and whatever. I know maybe at points now it's easier to feel more of the momentum. Momentum is super powerful in business, but when you started off and you didn't have that momentum, take us back to when, maybe you had the first location or the second location. What are those moments that you didn't feel like you had the momentum? Was there any insecurity, or did you just kind of, blindly, no experience, just say, this is what it's going to be, and you had this clear vision and you pursued it and it worked out?
Well, I think it's a little both.
Okay.
There's definitely insecurity. I still have it every day now. We all deal with those demons in our mind that says, hey, is this going to work? Or, we're venturing now into a new state, and I have the fear and anxiety of that because no one may know us in that state. We may think we're big here in San Diego and Southern California with Riverside County and Orange County, but we don't have a store yet open out of state. And so we're going to Arizona with the same modality and mindset that we did here, but it's the same risk, which is, are people going to like what we're offering? Are we going to connect with the community? Can we scale that? And what is the risk that we're doing into the organization? So when I had just the very first store, yes, I opened the doors our very first day, and 3 hours went by and not a soul walked in. And finally some guy walks in, looks at our menu for about 3-4 minutes and says, hey, can you just make me some eggs and bacon? And
eggs and bacon.
My gosh. And so I remember turning to my employee, Ben, and saying, this might not work out, because back then what the foods we offered weren't really known. In 2016, some people knew about an acai bowl, but no one knew pitaya, acerola, and graviola. They looked at me like I was speaking, another language.
Well, there's a huge, I think, trend towards people at least being more conscious about it. Maybe in practicality, it always doesn't pan out for everyone just because of the discipline factor and some of the 4 excuses that you mentioned. But you've definitely seen that trend. So I can't even imagine. 3 years ago, you're probably looking at a completely different landscape as far as your demographic.
Correct. Yes. And it was kind of the same thing. You go through that concern, that insecurity of, is this going to work? What am I going to do if it doesn't work? But the key is to calm that monkey mind down and refocus back on the vision that I had, or you have if you're starting your own, and realize that it's like anything. It's never a straight line to the top. Not even a flight of stairs is straight up, right? There's still that plateau. Mm-hmm. And you don't always get to go straight up, but as long as you have a clear vision and you work and operate with your best self and with full force every day, you'll achieve your goal and be open to understand that the landscape's going to change. And so being aware of where you want to go, and I like to start with the end in mind. So my goal was to build a coast-to-coast restaurant chain that was solving those 4 healthy eating problems, and that's why I wanted to keep the menu kind of available to change. So if people didn't like acai bowls, well, fine, we'll adjust. We'll sell something else that's made from stuff that's been around forever, but really focus on those 4 problems. That was my why, and I think it's important to always have a why, because that becomes your North Star. That's kind of what keeps you going when the storm is there. You know where to point the boat, and you can deal with the trials and tribulations as long as you are moving, inching your way towards that bigger why.
How soon did you have that? So, and again, I want to just, and all of our listeners and viewers here, so we understand kind of the full scope. So it was ADP, then you did the payroll, then there was a digital marketing
So I had
agency?
a couple smaller ones that maybe weren't as successful along the way.
Fair enough. Part of the learning process, right?
Yes.
So was this a why that was developing as you had those other companies, and then it was like, we're going to do this thing with the, the stuff that's been around forever. We're going to do that. It's going to be a restaurant, then it's going to be coast to coast. And it was a developing why like that, or was it kind of, a couple opportunities you were doing dried up and you were like, boom, new idea. This is what we need to do. What was the process there? So
I was doing digital marketing. I had a digital marketing agency, and we were doing really well. Liked what I was doing. I have entrepreneurial ADD. I'm a 3 to 5 year guy, and I like to scale businesses and then understand that I'm a startup entrepreneur. I'm not a lifer. So there comes a point where the business outgrows me and my skill sets, and I'm no longer probably the best guy to run the organization and take it to the next level. And conversely, I also have I like to always be open to opportunity, and I'm always kind of examining the landscape of what's out there. And I came to realize that I was exceeding and getting to the point where I didn't think I could grow my digital marketing agency any bigger than we had it. Mm-hmm. So if you can't grow, then there's no staying still. You either grow or you shrink.
So true.
So it was time for me to move on. And so from there, it was like, okay, what do I really want to do? And so I took a few months kind of thinking what I wanted to do next. And my wife's always been like, hey, just do what you love. Do what you love. And I love superfoods. I love healthy. I love being your best self. That's kind of my passion.
Just kind of personally. This is what you're, okay, I love
personally,
it.
yeah.
Love it.
And so it was like, well, you know what? I was in a financial opportunity to self-fund my passion, my goal, and take the risk. And if it failed, it failed. But that was kind of the moment. It was like, you know what? Now I'm going to go after it. And it was really, the timing was just I realized that the digital marketing agency experience, I'd done it from 2011 to 2015, 16, end of 15, beginning of 16. And it was just like, you know what? It's time for me to move on. It's time for me to do something else. And it was kind of like, hey, my kids are getting older and I'm going to do my passion, and I'm going to show them that you can chase your dreams and you know, go after whatever it is that you want. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, you'll pick yourself up and you'll do something else.
So true. And it's so funny how life works. There's so much rollover I've seen in my life, and it sounds like exactly what has happened in your life. You're with ADP, you know, you have the law degree, you have your bachelor's, and then you go, so you have the payroll company after ADP, and then you go and you have the digital marketing, and now you start a restaurant chain, focusing on these superfoods, but you have to use marketing, right? You have to have employees, you have to have payroll, right? And so all of your past experiences really come together to help make you a lot stronger of an entrepreneur today. And I would just have to imagine that the next and preceding ventures that you have, you'll be able to wrap up all of your experiences there. So that's such a huge point for people who are in their journey. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
So I have a number of friends, siblings, you know, my wife's siblings, who are in college, maybe who are graduating college, who are in that really exciting but very uncertain time in their life where, you know, you're 18, 19, 20, or maybe even you're in your later 20s and you haven't really figured out what you want to do yet. Maybe you don't even know what you're really passionate about yet. Maybe, you know, you kind of like superfoods personally, but you don't know that I want to start a restaurant chain coast to coast and this is my vision. You don't have that why yet. How can someone figure out what they want to do? Like instead of being stuck in indecision, you know, like what should someone do? If you're giving advice to a 22-year-old person who's super unclear,
Sure.
Where do you go from there?
I mean, I'd say a bad plan is better than no plan.
Can you say that again?
Yes, a bad plan is better than no plan.
Okay.
I think that too often we get stuck in this indecisive moment and we just do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So we either stay where we are or we tread water, and that's not going to get you anywhere. So pick something, whatever it is. Even if you may change your mind tomorrow, and I'm the king of changing my mind tomorrow, pick something and go for it. And you can always stop. And the beauty is, too often I hear, and you know, I'm as things have been growing in popularity in Everbowl, and I get a lot of people asking me, like on LinkedIn and things, for advice and tips. One of the ones that seems to be a common thing is, how do I leave my job to do this? And I'm scared to leave my job, and that's
like the big dream.
Yeah,
like start my own company, leave
Right.
my 9 to 5.
Right.
You know,
the thing is, the jobs are always there. And that was what I realized when I kind of left ADP, even though I was making all this money and had to sell my house and move in with mom and dad and bring my fiance and daughter. And it's like, that's a big sacrifice and there's risk. And what if it doesn't work out? But I realized ADP is a massive company. They're not going anywhere. So I can always go get another job. So when you're young, especially, and if you're young and you don't have a wife, a kids, or a husband and kids, or any of those things holding you back, now is the time to take even more risk. Just go for it, right? You can start it out of your dorm room if you're in college. You can start it while you're working your 9 to 5. You know, there's like side hustle, you know, and figure it out. You have so many hours in the day, and without all those things holding you back, it's really up to you. But not settling and not having a plan is the biggest thing, and just knowing that I've changed industries so many times. I had a capital raising company. I've had a recruiting agency. I had a couple websites. I had a company called Equity Circle where we were trying to legalize equity-based crowdfunding before it became legal. And it was almost really successful, but it ended up being a colossal failure because I didn't have the right pieces in place and I just missed it. But who cares, right? Like, I'm sitting here today and I don't talk about those failures, but I learn from them. And those failures are so important because we learn more from failure than success. And being able to understand what are the recipes or what is the success formula that works for the individual, because that's what I've been able to understand as I've matured and gone through my career path is, yes, I'm sitting here now 14 years out of law school and able to sit there and say, okay, I've done a handful of companies, 12 years out of law school, but I've done 14 companies, and really how can I apply them all and what I've learned from all those different companies and experiences. And so I'm stronger. It's experience. We all get better as we, develop and go through these things. And so instead of worrying about, well, am I going to be able to do this for the rest of my life? Who cares?
So true.
Most people don't do the same thing their whole life.
There's this fatality that people get into that their decision is going to be everything, and there are few decisions in life that even have an impact longer,
Right.
than a couple years that you can't recover from. And, so I see so often people, and even this is something I struggle with myself sometimes, you go in and you're like, if I make this choice, what if it's the wrong choice? And you kind of have this mindset that you have to continue down that path where it's like, no, if it doesn't work out, make a U-turn.
Yep.
Go back, figure it out, do something else, spin, and you'll find yourself adding to your experiences. And then to add on to that question, something that is funny listening to you here, I feel like you're breaking a lot of norms that were very normal culturally back maybe 20 years ago. You are someone who said, entrepreneurial ADD, you're jumping around to all these different things. I just remember my parents saying, like, you need to have discipline. You need to stick with something. Like, I'm thinking about this right now because those are the people that you think are going to be really successful, the doctors, the lawyers, the people, and you with the law school, you're going that direction. But you have this idea in your head that only the disciplined people or only the people that will have certain character traits are going to be successful. But you've taken this thing that some people could say is almost a weakness and you've spun it around. How are you able, and someone sitting at home here, how are they able to think about themselves, think about what they do, and find ways to capitalize on something that can be considered a weakness?
I think that's critical, right? I think we all have weaknesses and limitations, and that's what's going to hold you back. So running actually towards them, as opposed to away from them and trying to, I have this weakness. I gotta not show it to anybody. No,
I gotta accommodate for it. Okay,
exactly. No, put it in the sunlight and blow it up and turn it into your biggest strength. So you're right. I have entrepreneurial ADD. In high school, I used to jump around from internships and jobs, and I'd work at one place for 3 months and another place. And my mom used to say, Cindy, are you ever going to stay somewhere longer?
Yeah.
And the answer was, well, no, I'm learning. It's all interesting to me, but when I'm no longer interested in it, I'm either all in or I'm all out. And so I think it's a mixture of, I don't want to confuse entrepreneurial ADD and discipline, because I think those things are important.
I'm glad you made
having the discipline when you pick something for however long you're going to do it. If you're going to do it for 3 months, have the discipline to do it 100% for 3 months. It's not like I'm ever 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'm all in, but the second I'm no longer all in, I'm all out. Mm-hmm. I'm never half in the pool. And that was understanding with my weakness of my entrepreneurial ADD. When I failed, it was because I was half in and half out. And I was like, well, I still want to make it successful, but I'm interested over here. And that's when those companies weren't successful. So I've only been successful when I've been all in on whatever it is I was doing. But the moment I'm no longer 100% focused, passionate, and excited about it, it's time for me to either sell it, shut it down, or call it a failure if it's going to be a failure, and move on.
And that's interesting. Gary Vee actually uses this term half pregnant that I think is hilarious. But he says that, but you're totally right. So often we're concerned about failure, but then we don't have the discipline to stay focused. And that's right there where we're going to have the failures that we're so afraid of,
right.
So.
And failure is also a perspective. I mean, so the truth is, I don't think I've ever failed. And the reason is, even the companies that aren't here today and didn't do what I wanted them to do, I learned from them. I mean, sorry if I'm a little cheesy with the quotes, but it's sometimes you win and sometimes you learn, but there is no really losing unless you learned nothing from it.
I have that. It's a canvas in my office.
Do you really?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Then there you go.
I'm about that.
Exactly. As long as you learn from it and you can take whatever that experience gave you and use it to strengthen your next whatever, it was phenomenal for you. It's actually better than having some success that didn't allow you to get anything from it.
It's almost scary if you have success and you're successful in your very first thing. You have absolutely no calibration for what failure feels like. Right. So you come across a little bit of a challenge, and then you're incapacitated because it's like, oh my gosh, this has never happened to me before.
Right.
Very cool. Okay, so we've talked about Everbowl a little bit and kind of your path to where you are now. I want to talk about the company itself and kind of some founding principles. We talked about some of the excuses that people make when they are not eating healthy. Tell me a little bit about your company. How do you run? I mean, you can't do 29, coming up on 29, soon to be 40, right? Locations without doing something right internally and operations-wise. Talk to me a little bit about the company culture that you have here at Everbowl. Sure. And how do you keep that consistent? And before I ask that, actually, do you guys franchise?
No, they're all corporate right now.
Oh, okay. So, and that was going to be my question if you did franchise. But how do you keep the standard of excellence? Over this location here, we're in San Elijo. It's number 15.
Yeah.
I think we're number 15 here in San Elijo. Beautiful location, by the way. You guys should check it out if you're in the San Diego area, especially North County. But whether you're up in Temecula, Riverside area, Orange County, like how do you make sure that's that consistent experience that every single time you're welcomed with a smile or some of those things? Like how are you doing that?
So it's hard, right? But the thing is it's surrounding yourself with world-class people. The truth is a business principle of mine is to be the dumbest guy in the room. I pride myself on having a thirst for knowledge and making myself as intelligent as I can. But
let's talk about that. Actually, that was one of the things that I had to go deep into that.
Yeah. But it's understanding that your ego is the biggest thing that's holding so many entrepreneurs back and so many founders, CEOs, and key executives, even COOs, CFOs, whatever your position is. If you're a position of leadership, lose the ego, because that's what's going to prevent others from wanting to come join you and be great. So what we try to do and what I try to do is surround myself with world-class people who are rock stars. And if all I have to do is sweep every day because every other facet of the organization is being run by people better than me, phenomenal, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to have an unstoppable organization because I do pride myself on being smart. And I am going to learn everything I can and try to push the floor as high as I can so there is no ceiling. But that being said, when you attract talent, let them be experts. Let them be world-class. Let them inject their DNA in the organization. So like Brian Augustine, he's our chief development officer. And, he started with me back when we only had one store. And he started at Trader Joe's, or spent 14 years at Trader Joe's opening stores and really understanding how to scale company with culture. And to be honest, I'm not great at it. I'm one of those people, I am so focused on results that a lot of times I'm like, hey, I'll just do it if it's not getting done. Like totally. I want to make the customer happy, and he understands how to empower our staff and really push forward that culture in a way that I couldn't do it. And so bringing him over
That's
and having
so
him
impactful.
join the team was unbelievable for Everbowl, because now we get to leverage his expertise, and he's done such a great job of taking the rules that I wanted to have in our culture of making friends and having fun, and having those two foundational principles really exasperated across the whole organization. He deserves all the credit for it, right? I'm sitting here talking to you because of that, but I've created a situation that allowed him to come in and do that and really feel like this is his, just like it's mine, right?
I love that.
And so it's important to do that as an executive or a leader, is allow experts to be experts. And really, if you lose your ego and let other people be great, they're going to want to be a part of the organization. And all of a sudden, whatever your culture's goals are going to scale. And, we have 5 core principles, but the main 2 are make friends and have fun. And so when you go into an Everbowl, the idea is that hopefully our staff is doing that, making friends with everyone who walks through the door and have fun. And we try hard to continuously go back to it. Like when we make mistakes, it's like, hey, really, we made that mistake because we didn't connect with the customer. And the staff members on our team, we try to grow from within and really try to empower them. And the ones who do a great job can grow as far as they want with inside Everbowl.
Awesome. Talking about ego, and are we doing the Everbowls like live? I'm good with it. If you're because there's the tray sitting over there, so I didn't know if that was I'm actually pretty pumped about this.
Absolutely.
You're
okay to eat while we.
Oh, I am.
We're in a restaurant. We gotta have some food.
This is part of the authentic experience,
Come. This is Haley.
Okay. Say hi to
Hi.
Haley, everyone.
So do you want to tell them what we got here?
Yes.
Sure. So we're going to start off with our Everbowl. That's going to be the most popular bowl that we have company-wide. It's like our classic acai bowl with an almond milk base and then a bunch of great fresh fruit toppings. So that'll be what we recommend if you're a first-timer. It's a great way to get a dial for what the store has to offer. We also have the chewy, which is going to be the acai base with almond milk, but it has peanut butter all over. Yeah, so good. You have to give the peanut butter a try.
I'll get into that one.
It's really hard to stray from the peanut butter once you give it a try, but it's really good. And then we also have the Paradise, which is going to be one of our pitaya bases. Pitaya is from the pink flesh dragon fruit, so it's actually the sweetest base that we have to offer. We blend it with the coconut milk to kind of complement that flavor, and it has a bunch of tropical fruits on top with coconut. And then we also have the Refresh base, which is going to be our graviola base.
This is the Refresh here?
Yeah,
Okay.
So graviola is from the white flesh dragon fruit. It's like a great strawberry pineapple flavor. It's in the soursop family. So that's a great base if you want to try something outside the box. I really recommend that.
I'm into that.
Super good, yeah.
You kind of perfectly situated this tray,
Done this once or twice. And then we also have the Dream Smoothie, which is going to be our most popular smoothie store-wide. It's a great smoothie with bananas and blueberries, and then it has spinach. Don't be scared by the spinach.
I love it.
And with cacao nibs and peanut butter.
That's so cool.
Yeah, super yummy.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is incredible.
Yeah, so please jump on in.
Okay,
Try
so
whatever you'd like.
Where are you going? I'm gonna
No,
do
help
for this
yourself,
one,
my
right?
friend.
This looks super delicious.
Yes.
And I feel like we're gonna have a lot of
So that's actually a fun fact on the Chewy Bowl. That's my oldest daughter's recipe. When we started, she wanted to have a recipe on the menu, and I was like, yeah, whatever you want, sweetheart. And so that was her blend, and her nickname is Chewy. So it's called the Chewy for her.
I like that.
And it's actually our second most popular bowl. And she was in 5th grade at the time. So now the fun fact is, that saying, "Are you smarter than a 5th grader?" Mm-hmm. Apparently, no,
Apparently not.
I'm not.
This is
she
incredible.
knew what she was doing.
This is so good. It combines that peanut butter, that like really nutty richness, bananas, like everything comes together really well. I feel like we're just going to make everyone mad. We're like munching here on the podcast.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, you just got to go to your local Everbowl and you can come give it a try. Sorry, I had to do the plug.
Plug away.
That's right. Have to.
So I'm curious about ego, because you're totally right. A lot of CEOs and executives, they feel like they need to be the brains. They need to be the smarts. They need to be injecting all their brilliance into the organization. And even if they weren't to admit it, I think that they actually truly believe that.
Yes.
Deep down. And so they operate like that, even if they're not vocal about it.
Well, it's a fear. It's a fear that if they don't, that someone else is going to view them as a fraud, or you are only lucky because so-and-so's on your team and you got to ride the coat. And it's such a fallacy. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's couldn't be further from the truth, because the truth is a CEO's job, like if you actually look at what a chief executive officer's job is, it's actually to put a team together and have that team operate. It's, if you think of a head coach of a football team or a basketball team, they're not out there shooting the ball every time or throwing the passes. It's organizing a team collectively to operate as one. And as long as you set the right vision, that's your real job, is to point the boat and make sure that everyone is going towards that. But if you don't get the best people to do that, then you're actually failing in your real job.
That's so well said. That is so well said, because, and I don't feel like that's talked about enough. I feel like that's why a lot of small companies stay small. That's why a lot of people who start something, they become owner-operators and they just stay there forever and ever. And even if they have dreams of scaling, they're incapable of doing that because they're too afraid of bringing on someone who they feel like might outposition them in the company.
Right.
So I love that.
And you should always try to be finding someone who can replace you in a positive way, no matter what position you are. If you're an employee in a store or a low-level employee, you should always be trying to groom someone below you to take your job, because then whoever is looking at someone to grow in the organization, they're going to want you because you've just proven that you can scale. You can scale the organization. So don't be afraid. A lot of times you have corporate politics and people are afraid that if so-and-so is great and they can do my job, then I'm not needed at the company. But it's actually not true. You're actually more valuable.
Yeah, that's so true. So, and two things there, it actually plays into your entrepreneurial ADD, because if you can work yourself out of a job, you can go do something else.
That's right.
If you can do that in the 3 to 5 year window, you get to jump on. I want to get onto some of your other ventures. I'm curious about those. But before we do that, I want to ask, as far as that goes, when you're putting a team together, when you're trying to find those people that mesh well, when you're trying to find the right group of people, I guess, how do you keep the brand, kind of that vision? How you said you're a CEO, you're pointing that ship in the right direction. How do you make sure that the day-to-day stuff doesn't bog you down? Because you're here at a restaurant, and I mean, I've worked in a restaurant for 10 years. Actually, first job, not a restaurant, was at Trader Joe's.
Oh, really?
So brought a lot of kind of that mindset to bear on all the subsequent things that I did.
And they've done a phenomenal job culturally.
Really have. And all my sisters actually have worked there. They all worked longer there than I did. But how do you simultaneously keep that big vision, which is very fresh and very powerful and very pure in a way, and then combine it with the nuts and bolts of the daily, like stocking things, making sure stuff is faced here in the restaurant, making sure products are fresh, people quitting, real life things happening, needing to fire people, employees maybe, or partners that are dishonest. Like, there's so many challenges in the business world, and a lot of times these are the excuses that people use.
Sure.
Right? You have the 4 excuses why people don't eat food.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a number of excuses why people don't actually start businesses.
Sure.
So how do you do that? It's like Gary Vee's clouds and dirt almost. It's kind of that vision, that pure vision of what you're trying to do. How are you balancing those, and how are you making sure that your message is still unadulterated?
Well, it's like all things. It's ebbing and flowing, and it's never easy. I mean, the key for me has always been to take a moment. I try not to make any decision when I'm too excited or too upset.
Okay.
I really don't like to make any critical decision in that moment. So if I'm fired up happy or fired up pissed, it's time to take a moment, and we'll figure this out in a little while. So I can think clearly. But it's very simple. It's Is this decision going to get me closer to my end goal? And that's really what I do. Is I know where I want to be. I know where I'm going. I have that clearly defined. It's 100% lasered in my brain, and everything I do is to operate towards that goal. So I work backwards till now, and so it's very simple. Is stocking these boxes right now going to get me closer to my goal? If the answer is yes, I'm going to be stocking boxes. If the answer is no, then I'm not. But it's also, again, about having world-class teams, surrounding yourself with people who can do those things. And if we lose somebody, I mean, I love going in the store and making food because it allows me to connect with customers. And that's what our main goal is, make friends and have fun. So really easily, I would rather the back of the house look terrible because we were so busy and we were making such good connections with all of our customers that we couldn't do those little things that, they're not little, but important things in the back that might slow us down or might cost us money. That's okay, because in the long run, we're doing what's best for the organization, which is building the brand and building the culture and connecting back with our customers. And so it's hard. It's not an easy answer. You ask tough questions, right? There's no simplistic answer.
Absolutely.
But really, it's about always understanding where you're going and never losing sight of that. And so if the ship's pointing in the right direction, I mean, sure, we're going to do this. We're going to move side to side a little bit. Sometimes you have to go a few steps backwards to take 5 steps forward. But understanding that we're going to always strive to be making momentum towards our goal. And excuse me. And through that, I think you can overcome those little nuances and the challenges that come day to day.
What are those other core principles? So you said there's 5 of them. 2 of them are make friends and have fun. What are the other 3?
Be remarkable at everything you do.
Okay.
Act with integrity. And Kaizen, get 1% better every day.
I love Kaizen.
Yes.
I like that. Be remarkable. How does that, I mean, do you ever talk about what that means? Like, what, I mean,
sure.
If I'm a new Everbowl employee,
your best.
How do I be remarkable?
It's just your best.
Just
I don't care about anything. There's no trying. Trying is, I mean, I don't want to sound too rude, but trying is for losers. At the end of the day, you do your best, and whatever that is, we're good with. And so if you come here, make friends, and have fun, and give your best, whatever your best is, that will be remarkable, because most people are remarkable. They just don't. They stop long before they hit that. They're like, oh, job seems to be done. I'm good. Well, is the job done, or is it remarkably done? And if you hold your standards and yourself to be remarkable, well, okay. Everyone knows what remarkable looks like. You can go see it in how an Apple designed a new iPhone before iPhones were there. That was remarkably done. And how Tesla created beautiful vehicles, right? Electric cars. That was remarkable. There's remarkability in when you know it, you know it. It doesn't hide itself.
And there's a little voice inside that tells you, like, if you said, did you do your best job? There is a little voice internally that kind of says, like, but did you really?
Right.
And and so it's, I like that integrity is part of those core values as well, because you have to be honest with yourself to say, like, did I really do that? Or do I know? Because sometimes it's only you.
Absolutely.
Sometimes your boss or whoever else, they won't know that you missed a little corner of the table. But if they say, hey, did you do your best? You are really keeping yourself accountable.
And if you hold yourself to that being remarkable standard on everything you do personally, you're going to Kaizen your life 1% better and not taking those shortcuts. And yeah, you're right. I could clean this table and leave a little corner and no one would know, but I'll know. And if I keep taking shortcuts in my life, then when I'm looking in the mirror wondering why I'm not where I want to be, it's because I keep taking shortcuts. And, again, I'm a cheesy quotes guy, but hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I make a living doing that. Because I'm not the most talented human being, but I work really hard. And so I'm going to hold myself to be remarkable and finish the job to the best I can. And so I can outpace and beat a lot of competitors in what I'm doing simply because they are taking shortcuts. If everybody held themselves to that standard, it'd be a lot harder.
Definitely. Well, and you know what? The other thing is you're probably, and I mean, I'm going
to eat too while we sit here.
Do it. The other thing is you're happy. You know what I mean? Because if you give your all and you give your best and you know that you gave your best and you feel that and it feels true and you know that you acted in integrity in the scenario, you know that you can't do better than you did. And so you get to be happy. You don't get to be happy when you feel like there's unfinished work. There's that dissatisfaction if you don't leave it all out on the court,
That's
right? And you didn't shoot those shots. You feel that dissatisfaction because you didn't actually give yourself even the opportunity to win or make the mistake. And so then you get to you see when people are bitter or upset about stuff, and it's just because they are cheating themselves out of incredible opportunities because they're not going, to the last mile.
That's right.
They're stopping a little bit before. So I absolutely love that that's part of your culture. Talk to me about other ventures that you're on right now. So Everbowl here, you said the digital marketing, but you're done with that, correct?
So what I've now done, and to kind of take my entrepreneurial ADD, is vertically integrate multiple startups inside of Everbowl. So everything I'm doing is for Everbowl. I'm 100% in, as I mentioned. I don't do 3 companies that are different at the same time, because then I'll have 3 mediocre companies. So it's really about how can we scale Everbowl. And so leveraging the fact that I know how to scale startups and I love startups, and that's kind of the thing. I looked at where are we going with Everbowl, and our goal was to scale nationwide. So to do that, I had to, and solve those 4 excuses, I had to do certain things to make this doable. So the first is we started our own construction and fabrication company called WeBuild.
Oh, wow.
So we build our own Everbowls. And so it's owned by Everbowl, and it's basically a construction and fabrication company. It's called WeBuild Stuff. But technically, we build Everbowls.
It's starting to sound like McDonald's. I love it.
Well, there's some things I learned from McDonald's, and a fun fact from McDonald's is they're the largest toy manufacturer in the world from the Happy Meal.
Really?
They make more toys than any company in the entire world.
No way.
Yeah. And
that's crazy.
And when you start to understand that power of scaling and vertically integrating multiple startups, so it cost me too much money to build the first Everbowl. So I realized, how am I going to build a lot of these to make that 4th excuse accessibility and making it available to everybody everywhere if it cost me too much money to build them? So we had to take a step back and go, okay, what can we do differently? Well, we could build them ourselves. And since we're going to build so many of them, I can hire a team and we can develop strategies and we can develop a system to build Everbowls and really optimize that. So we can build them cheaper than our competitors, and I can build them that much faster. The next one was the cost, right? I want to sell you a $9 bowl, unlimited toppings of superfoods that we're importing from different regions of the world. Not cheap to do, and it's really hard for our competitors to do it. And I was losing money on our first store because it was costing me too much to buy the superfoods. So again, understanding that, we started our own import company called Real Happy Foods and went down to Brazil and worked with Vietnam and Nicaragua and the different countries where we import superfoods and started importing direct. And by doing that, I was able to reduce my cost of goods and pass that savings to my customer.
Incredible.
So I can now offer you a competitive bowl with another startup and another company, another division of Everbowl. And so that's kind of how I'm doing it now, with leveraging kind of my passion for startups, is really saying, hey, the power of rolling it all up under one makes us really dynamic and really dangerous in the competitive marketplace, because I don't need to make money with my construction company. I need to build Everbowls, right? I don't need to make money selling superfoods to others. I need to sell them to myself. And so those kinds of things. And so we just launched our new CPG division, our consumer packaged goods. We just came out with Superfuel Coffee, which is the first acai infused coffee line. We have 3 different SKUs that we sell. And our unique selling proposition is simple. You drink coffee every day, but you might not have access to superfoods, so why not drink your superfoods with your coffee? And we sell it on Amazon as well as in our stores. And the power now is I get to leverage, like we talked about a few minutes ago, my digital marketing background, so we can start geo-targeting locations before we open, get the brand exposed there, get people familiar with us as the superfood experts and what we're trying to do by moving forward giving you access to healthy eating and making you your best self through traditional, already standard habits, drinking a cup of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so incredible. It's amazing to me, because even just thinking about those and the remarkable difference in industries that you've touched, there is that one core discipline. You're trying to make people's lives better through healthy food, and everything that you're doing, whether it's construction or the CPG side or the importing. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. The importing, that's all going to that purpose. Another huge advantage that I just immediately thought of is it gives you control over the product.
That's right.
Like, if you're dealing with a different import company, you don't really know. Like, you trust, right? But you don't really know. Now you're here every step of the way. You're going straight from farmers to Everbowls, and you're in charge of the whole entire process.
Yeah. We control the vertical supply chain from berry to bowl. And
that's incredible.
It was really important to go down to Brazil and see the locals and interact with the culture there and understand where we're sourcing our food, because if you're going to give someone healthy food, you should know the source, right? Too often we get tricked a lot with restaurants that take shortcuts and things like that we didn't want to do. I really wanted to understand what was the process of picking an acai berry. So literally, I went down to Brazil, I climbed a tree, I picked an acai berry, and have done the entire process. So I understand it. Whether or not I have to do that all the time is different. But then, like, for example, these bracelets I wear are acai seeds. These are the natural color of an acai seed. And then these are painted. We sell them on our Evertree at the register. Really, as a humanitarian thing, we sell them for $3, and we donate that money back to Brazil. So it's basically going back to the locals in Brazil who hand make these bracelets, and that's how they support themselves, because they are inundated with acai seeds in the region of Brazil where acai comes from, up in Belém and Castanhal. And so it's an amazing way for us to give back to those families and send their kids to school and make their lives better by also providing some cool
That's
jewelry
so
to our customers.
That's so powerful. And, I was thinking it's strategic. And strategy and being able to vertically integrate like that probably makes you a lot more of an attractive prospect for raising capital. And you talked about a little bit of the equity side of what you did before, and kind of what you mentioned was a failed business venture. But again, I see a lot of corollaries now, and I don't know what exactly you're doing as far as that goes, but now you're really able to leverage that. And with the strategy you have in play, I mean, if I had a bunch of money and you came to me and said, hey, help me open another Everbowl, I'm like, sign me up and give me a bowl on the way,
Sure. I mean, I think it's creating barriers of entry, right? Especially in food. Like, question I get asked, well, what's the barrier to entry? Can anyone start an acai bowl? Absolutely. Anyone can go tomorrow, open up, Jeff's Bowls and go start selling acai bowls. That's fine. That's not, and I support that. I mean, as long as you're doing it in an unevolved way, where you're giving healthy, unsweetened, real fruit and making people healthy, I support that. And you know what? I'll come buy a bowl from you if I'm in the area. It's the companies that are doing it with the sugar-filled sorbets that are taking shortcuts because they don't want to hire extra people and make authentic food, that they're just trying to make a dollar. That's not competition to us. It's
not competition. Yeah,
it's just sugar-filled food. But the real barrier to entry to compete with what we're doing is we're not building acai bowls chain. We're building a system to scale healthy eating and quick serve fast food options that answer those 4 excuses. And that's our why. And so everything we're doing is to go back towards answering those 4 excuses and that why. And so there really is no competition to us, because we're on a mission of unevolve and creating a easier way for people to live an unevolved lifestyle. And if others want to join us in that fight, great.
Yeah, well, you're building a fast car, and if you put Everbowl inside the fast car, that's great. If you put other things inside the fast car, you're going to be dangerous. I love that. Talk to me, if someone's listening to this, maybe they have a fantastic idea, right? There are all these steps that you had to go through to get to where you are now. If someone has an incredible idea, maybe they're looking for funding, or they're looking for a mentor, or they're looking for something because they're missing, pieces. And I think we all feel like that would probably be one of the excuses. You're missing money, you're missing something, right? What do you think is something? What's step one for everyone, or is it just step one?
Well, step one is doing it. Just start. Right, whatever you're doing. I mean, money is actually one of the easiest things to get.
Okay.
If you actually have the vision and you have a plan together and you have the passion behind it and you're really going to do it.
I've heard you say that before on other podcasts. Money is easy to come by because of all those things. Is it the people that say, well, I do have all those things. I've got a great business plan. I have, whatever, but they're still not getting that. Do you feel like it's because they're not trying hard enough? Like, I
mean, I don't know about trying hard enough, but there's more money out there than there are businesses. Just everyone needs to understand that, especially professional money. Forget friends and family. Forget people who will believe in you and give it to you in that seed round. But if you're looking for like private equity, venture capital, actual fund, institutional money, there is more money out there that they have to put it somewhere. And there's not enough companies for them to put it into places. So if you have that company and you can get in front of that audience, they're looking to find the right companies and the right people to back. But always remember, most shrewd investors don't bet on companies. They bet on the jockey, not the horse. They're going to bet on the individuals who are running the company. So they've got to believe in you. And the reason and the way they're going to believe in you is no one wants to hear, well, as soon as I get my money, I'm going to start this company. No one believes in that. You have to believe in yourself first. And when you believe in yourself, it kind of becomes intoxicating, and it shows to everyone else like, oh, yeah, I sold my house and I did this and I started this company and this was my idea and here I am and I'm bootstrapping it to the best of my ability. And when you do that kind of sacrifice and you're all in, people will then want to say, hey, I'll bet on someone who's all in.
Because if you don't believe in yourself, why would they?
Why am I going to put my money on that? Exactly. There's no risk to you.
Definitely.
So I think that stops a lot of people from getting the money. They think they need the money first. You normally don't. There's so much you can do without money. And if you just start to be creative, I've talked to potential restaurants, I guess I would say, who started literally renting a commercial kitchen on weekends and just goes to farmers markets to kind of get the idea out there. I was talking to a friend of mine who was asking for some advice on empanadas, and he started making empanadas out of a commercial kitchen on Thursdays and did farmer markets on Fridays, and that's all because that was his 2 days off, and he started that way. And all of a sudden, now he's doing farmers markets Thursdays and Fridays because it grew and it became popular. And now he's talking about, hey, maybe I can do farmers markets all week and quit my job. Yeah, he eventually wants to raise capital, and that was what he came to me for, is help me understand how I can get money to build a restaurant, because that's his goal, is to build an empanada restaurant. And I said, listen, you're doing it the right way. Keep going. You're going to have customers who are begging you to open that restaurant. And when you do, then all of a sudden people are going to want to give you money because you have a built-in clientele. So
you already have the community.
Exactly.
And you've put in the sweat equity right up front.
You've already taken the risk out, right?
Yep.
No one wants to be the money. Friends and family is who will stake you at the very beginning, right? And unfortunately, if you don't have that support group of friends and family, then I think, first of all, you need to understand the power of relationships and relationship capital. But you hit on something more important than money, which is the mentoring. And I've always had mentors. I'm now a mentor to people, so I have mentees at this stage of my life. But when I was even a middle school and young kid, I always understood the power of mentorship, and I always have mentors in my life. I think it's important to reach out to people who you trust, who are where you want to be, do what you want to do, have access to information you want to have, or experiences that you want to understand, and figure out how you can get some mentorship, because mentors invest in their mentees. And so that empowers you to have such an incredible advantage when you have the right mentors and the right people who are guiding you and giving you that advice and hopefully opening doors for you, because you've earned the right to ask, right? So I think focusing on building your relationship capital through mentorship, through paying it forward first, what can you do for others, and doing that. And then all of a sudden, all these doors open, and you now have access to more money than you would ever know or need for the right business at the right time.
You're giving first.
Always.
I think is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
And I that's hard to do, because sometimes, you have this thing in mind. Maybe you want to give, but you're so focused on what you need to do to get that done. You're looking inward. And the moment that you try to prioritize someone else, now all of a sudden you're thinking how they're thinking, you're putting yourself in their shoes, you're using empathy, and then you're able to approach them and offer them something that you have that they may not have. And sometimes it comes down to time. If you say, like, I don't have anything, this person has, everything that they need. People always need time. Time's that one thing,
Absolutely.
That's so important. So,
using the empanada example, if it was me and it was different, and I had, let's say, a very wealthy friend who was going to have a party, let me come cater your party for free with my empanadas. And then all I'm asking for is an hour of your time at the end or at the beginning, because I want to pick your brain. I'll cater it on me. Well, okay. Who's going to say no to that? They're going to see that all I want is information, and I'm willing to give whatever I have to get that information. All of a sudden, then I do a great experience, and who knows who's at that party?
So true.
Maybe an investor's at that party. Maybe someone's like, these empanadas are amazing. Where did these come from? Oh, they came from Jeff. Oh, Jeff, can I have his number? Hey, Jeff, I tried your empanadas at so-and-so's party, and man, they were incredible. Can I talk to you about it? What are you doing with those? And all of a sudden, these opportunities are opening now because I paid it forward first. I said, I want an hour of so-and-so's time, and I'm willing to let me wash your car. Hey, do you take your kids to school? Can I sit in the car with you during carpool? I want information. And you have to find the time if you want help.
Sure.
You have to pay it forward. There's so many creative ways to get there. It's the ones that just ask for, hey, I'd like to buy you a cup of coffee and pick your mind. Well, if you don't have the relationship, a lot of people are like, listen, I that's great, but I don't know you.
Thank you for that cup of coffee offer.
Right, but really, don't make me impact my life. Like, take a walk. When are you at the gym? When are you here? How can I meet you here? I'll come at 3 a.m. When do you have some time? And what are you going to do to earn that right to ask for that information? And information is the most valuable thing you can get. Knowing the right people is the most important thing, because as you know, the right person can open doors for you and save you years of struggle.
So true.
So building relationship capital and mentorship, I think, is more important than money.
Well, Jeff, these bowls are calling our name, and I really appreciate you being on. I have 2 questions that I'd like to ask you. I kind of rotate these through with some of the different guests, but more personal questions.
Okay.
One is, what do you do personally to blow off steam? What do you do to relax and rejuvenate yourself? Because, at least I find for myself, when you're constantly emoting and you're putting your heart and soul into, whether it's your employees, your businesses, right? Your family, you're constantly outputting. How do you recharge? How do you refuel other than Everbowl?
Exercise.
Okay.
For me, I try to find a way to move my body. I have a standing desk at the office, so you don't always have time to go to the gym, but I always try to find a way to make sure that I'm moving my body.
What is exercise for you? Are you doing CrossFit? Are you going to
Everything.
LA Fitness? Are you
Sports.
going to just sports?
I love sports,
basketball,
the gym,
baseball? What are you doing?
I'm a member at 3 gyms: LA Fitness, 24-Hour Fitness, and Bay Club, so I can
So
cut it in wherever I can.
I love it.
At
all hours of the day.
Any hour. That's
Okay.
right. I mean, sometimes it's a 2 a.m. workout because that's the only time I could get. Sometimes it's literally I'm gonna do wall sits while I'm on a conference call in the office because we have a little dip bar in the office, or I'll use stand at my standing table. I just need to move my body, and I find that when I do, the endorphins go, and I feel better, and I get to kind of blow off some steam.
Yeah, nice. Okay, and then people, for anyone who's listening, for myself, give us some book recommendations or some podcast recommendations. You know, whether you listen to stuff or read stuff. I do both, but
Sure.
what are your recommendations?
So the most powerful book I've ever read, and you can listen to it on tape or you can read it, is Tim S. Grover's From Good to Great to Unstoppable.
Relentless, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I'm a huge Kobe Bryant fan, and the mentality of that book is really powerful. I think he wrote it like in 2011 or 12 is when I read it. So I always recommend that as a book for anyone who's trying to figure out how to elevate their own personal whatever. And then
Cooler, Cleaner, Closer.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So you've definitely read it.
Yep.
And then from podcasts, I listen to a bunch. I think I don't really listen to much music, so I traditionally do listen to podcasts. The Playbook by David Meltzer has been great. Pat Flynn has one with the Smart Passive Income kind of sphere.
And Pat Flynn is here locally.
Yeah, he's
right.
a buddy of mine from high school. He's a great dude.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah, John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneurs on Fire, Mixergy, some
Okay.
great podcasts that I highly recommend.
Mixergy?
Yeah.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to rewind this part of my own podcast, jot those down, and go check them out
And
later.
of course yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yes.
you so much. No, I appreciate
no,
that.
No question about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate you taking your time. Time is super valuable, and you're doing so much. But the fact that you're willing to sit down with me here and talk about this, share some of the mindset of your business, share your actual product, which is fantastic. I'm really excited to dig into your companies a little bit more, and I really do appreciate your time. Very grateful for it. So,
Well, thank you so much. Really love the opportunity to connect with your audience and get this opportunity to talk to you and meet more people and really share the Everbowl mission and the unevolved lifestyle that we're trying to do. So thank you.
love it. Awesome. So, where can everyone find you if you're on social media or obviously in person? Go to an Everbowl. But where are they finding you?
At Fenster Jeff on Instagram or at Everbowl Craft Superfood is our company's Instagram hashtag. And then, of course, I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. So happy to answer any questions or be a resource. Or if anyone has advice for me, I'm always open to it.
Is Instagram where you guys are normally as far as social media goes?
That's our biggest platform, and Facebook and LinkedIn.
Well, I mean, these bowls are just
They're Instagrammable.
begging to be
Yes.
put on Instagram. So awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you.
it, man.
This was great.
Take care.